Hi, I'm Dave. I'm the founder of BigTalker, which is a marketplace for on-site training and workshops and seminars. And before I started BigTalker, I worked with a lot of startups as either head of product or as an advisor to their product team. And I've worked with over a dozen companies to help them with their product strategy and product plan. And I found that in almost every case, there's a lot of confusion internally around exactly what are we doing here and what is our company and what's our mission and how do we identify ourselves. So I put together a talk which is about 10 key slides that every startup needs to have that defines and socializes some key decisions they've made internally. One, for example, is how do we describe ourselves? So when a startup describes what they do, they might start with something really high level, like we are X for Y, right? We are Uber for sunglasses, right? And X for Y is not the best way to describe yourself. It never feels like a perfect match, but it just describes generally where you fit in the map. And the second level of description would be around your elevator pitch. And elevator pitch is more like 2 or 3 sentences. Like, we found that this problem exists in the market and we are working on this solution and we serve this kind of customer, right? And that's a good way to add a little bit of your value statement in there, a little bit of your pitch on top of a description of what you do or what you build. And the About Us is more of a third level of description, where there's lots of details, and that's something you might find on a website under the About section, with lots of background on who you serve and what the value is and what your kind of core pitch is. So that's just an example of like documenting 3 different ways to describe yourself as a company. And I help companies go through that practice of writing down key messaging for each level of description. So the purpose of the workshop is to leave with the ability to create this strategy deck, right? And a strategy deck is really, it's a documentation of your startup DNA. It could be a Google Doc, it could be a deck, it doesn't really matter. But it's just a combination of all these decisions that you're constantly making and anything you're learning ongoing that go into this deck to communicate who you are, what you stand for. So it should include things like, what's your mission? What are your values? How do you differentiate? What's your mantra if you have one? How do you position yourself in the market? How do you describe yourself? How do you fit in the competitive landscape? So these are all critical things to think through so there's no confusion. For example, who's the target customer and who's not the target customer? You know, so many startups get confused around how are the leads coming in? How are we acquiring customers? Should the phone be ringing? Should I be doing outbound calls? Is this all a self-serve model so that leads come in through our SEO engine? So there shouldn't be any confusion internally, and there always is because things are changing, things are developing, things are solidifying. But the point is, as a startup CEO or as head of product, you should own this deck and communicate all the decisions internally so everyone's on board with your mission, your value, and the purpose of your startup.